This is Gian Maria Volonté. He was an Italian actor who came to prominence in the 60s and 70s as a magnetic performer in social dramas, political thrillers, and spaghetti westerns. Many of his films deal with politics that were prevalent in Italian society of its time. This is some of his work. After graduating from the National Drama School in Rome in 1957, he began his career as a stage actor before slowly moving over to films in the early 60s. One of his first official roles was in the romantic drama film Girl with a Suitcase, as Claudia Cardinal's abusive ex-boyfriend.
Voglio lavorare, come te e come gli altri, ne ho bisogno e ne ho diritto.
Vai fuori, vai via, vai via!
Ma che succede?
Via.
Ma che fai?
Lascia stare che lei lo sa. Ma non è finita qui, sai?
Basta buona, vieni. Andiamo su. Sta calmo, dai.
His two most famous films were directed by the Italian master Sergio Leone.
This short cigar belongs to the man with no name. A Fistful of Dollars.
A Fistful of Dollars was the first film of the Dollar trilogy, and the story was inspired by Kurosawa's Yojimbo, switching out samurais with gunslingers. Even though it's a remake, Leone makes the movie his own by infusing his distinct style of directing into the story, with Ennio Morricone's iconic music as a solid foundation. The movie popularized the spaghetti western genre and made Eastwood into a household name.
I don't like that Americano. He's too smart to be just a hired fighter.
Volonté is the main villain, Ramon Rojo, who dominates the screen with his big presence, and is a good counterpart to Eastwood's quiet, mystical hero.
You remember him, don't you? He's Clint Eastwood. And him, the great actor Gian Maria Volonté. They were the men who excited you so in For a Fistful of Dollars. Here they are, united once more, Clint Eastwood and Gian Maria Volonté, under the inspired direction of Sergio Leone, better known as Bob Robertson. And for added good measure, Lee Van Cleef, in a fast-moving film crowded with action. For a few dollars more.
The second movie in the Dollar trilogy is more accomplished than its predecessor, with better characters and a more interesting storyline.
When the chimes end, pick up your gun. Try and shoot me, Colonel. Just try.
Volonté plays Indio, a ruthless bandit that escapes from prison and plans a daring robbery of a bank in El Paso with his band of violent gunslingers. Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef is after him, one for the bounty, the other for personal revenge. Going against his usual typecast, Van Cleef plays a good guy this time around, and him and Eastwood are a great team together.
To the partnership, with no tricks, of course.
No tricks.
It's a wonderful sequel with many great set pieces. Volonté is also allowed to flex more muscles with his character, giving him a more fleshed out backstory.
I'm letting you leave, hero. That's so you can tell everybody you've seen what takes place here.
Volonté later admitted that he did the spaghetti westerns simply for the money, and not necessarily for his devotion to the material. Their massive success changed the course of his career, but he was not done yet with the genre. In Face to Face from 1967, he plays a history professor who gets kidnapped by an outlaw, then slowly assumes control over his gang by becoming an outlaw himself. In Bullet for the General, he plays a bandit who gets swept up in the Mexican Revolution. The crazy Klaus Kinski also makes an appearance.
In the name of the Father!
Senor Elias was shot with a bullet made of gold.
Senor Elias is dead.
Many Wars Ago is an interesting war film that focuses on the Italian front during World War I. It's an anti-war film in the same vein as Kubrick's Paths of Glory. Volonté plays a lieutenant who questions the decisions of his superiors and has to maneuver around their orders, which often sends his men to a certain death.
Lo faccia fucilare egualmente.
Signor generale, io non posso far fucilare un uomo che non ha commesso un reato.
Lo faccia passare per le armi. Immediatamente.
The movie was shot on location in Yugoslavia and also stars the American actor Mark Frechette, famous from Antonioni's Zabriskie Point, who 3 years after the movie was sent to prison for a bank robbery in Boston. In the 60s and 70s, Italy was a turbulent place. This period is now known as the Years of Lead, a name describing the social unrest and political violence that took place in Italian society from 1968 and into the 1980s. Volonté was an active member of the Italian Communist Party, and he was very outspoken of his left-wing politics. His career was at its peak during this time, and he chose to do roles that reflected the social concerns of his society. In Elio Petri's Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion, Volonté plays a highly decorated police inspector who one day kills his mistress and deliberately leaves out clues to prove his own responsibility for the crime. Because of his high-ranking position, he is above suspicion from the authorities, even though the evidence that appears all around him implicate him as the culprit. The movie won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1970 and is a jet-black satire of corruption in high office. The score by Ennio Morricone is fantastic, along with the innovative cinematography that glides through the story. Volonté is perfectly cast as the remorseless police inspector who manipulates his surroundings and misleads his colleagues about the case.
Lei deve recarsi immediatamente con queste 24 cravatte in questura alla squadra omicidi, perché io non sono un impresario di avanspettacolo, ma sono un assassino.
Come ha detto?
Un assassino. Un assassino. Lei li legge i giornali, no? Si ricorda quella signora in via del Tempio che è stata uccisa? Beh, l'ho uccisa io.
Ma che cosa mi dice? Una persona così compita come lei? Ma lei mi vuole burlare,
Io non la voglio burlare. Lei è nei guai.
Ma perché sarei nei guai, scusi? Io non ho fatto niente, sia ben chiaro.
Stia zitto un momento. Chiunque, glielo spiego io il meccanismo, viene a contatto con un assassino è nei guai. Lei corre in questura, squadra omicidi. Mi descriva dettagliatamente.
Volonté would shift his sights to the other side of the political spectrum, with the working class goes to heaven. He plays Lulu, a factory worker who, in an effort to increase his output and productivity, injures himself in a work-related accident, where he ends up losing his finger. He gets swept up in the student strikes outside of his factory and gets himself involved in their cause, which only complicates his life even further.
Ma che vita è la nostra? Questo profondo.
It's a funny and sometimes tragic retelling of the working man's plight under capitalism, and Volonté screams and shouts his way throughout the movie with a fiery passion.
Vergognati! Solo questo sai fare! Solo questo sei capace di fare! Sei uno schiavo e nient'altro! Hai capito?
Volonté didn't only do Italian movies in this period. He also went over to France to star in the crime film, The Red Circle. He plays Vogel, a criminal who escapes from police custody. During his escape, he meets Alain Delon by chance, and they strike up a partnership, helping each other out from both of their predicaments.
Allez vite, filons. De la route, on a pu entendre des coups de feu.
Delon and Volonté teams up with Yves Montand, and together they plan and commit a daring jewelry heist in a 30-minute sequence with almost no sound or dialogue on screen. The Red Circle is directed by Jean-Pierre Melville and is one of his best films, made 3 years before his untimely death. It's a cool old-school crime film with the director's distinct muted palette and his clinical style of pacing.
Allô, la police.
Another political thriller Volonté did was the Mattei Affair. It's a portrayal of the oil magnate Enrico Mattei, who was responsible for building up the Italian oil industry after World War II with the state-owned company Eni. He mysteriously died in a plane crash in 1962, and his death has never been solved, and theories about a covert assassination has emerged in the later years, with both the CIA, the French government, and the Mafia being named as potential suspects. Mattei coined the name Seven Sisters, a term describing the largest oil-producing companies in the world at that time. From the beginning, he was at odds with them, mainly for his support of the Algiers independence movement, and for challenging the oligopoly of the Big Seven by giving a fair share to the oil-producing countries, namely Arab and African nations. A move that was unprecedented and dangerous at the height of the Cold War. It's a murky case in Italian history, and it was further compounded with the disappearance of the Italian investigative journalist Moro who went missing in 1970 while researching a lead about the Mattei case, and who has to this day never been found. Despite winning the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in 1972, the film has never been properly released on DVD or Blu-ray. It's a real shame, because the movie still has a relevant message. Volonté gives an impressive performance as Mattei and delivers candid red pill monologues about the state of affairs within oil politics.
Dare al 75% è come dare i cannoni agli arabi. Lei a questo modo rischia di sconvolgere le strutture attuali dell'industria petrolifera mondiale. Sono compromessi gli interessi dell'Occidente.
Ma balle, le compagnie petrolifere non sono l'Occidente. Sono delle società per azioni che fanno i loro interessi, punto e basta. Ma anche se ammettessimo che le grandi compagnie fanno gli interessi dell'Occidente, che cosa significherebbe? Che l'Occidente vuole tenere l'Italia come un paese di serie B? L'Occidente vuole tenere i paesi produttori di petrolio nelle attuali condizioni di arretratezza? A me non me ne frega niente di un Occidente che non ha capito che i paesi produttori fanno parte del terzo mondo. E il terzo mondo è in rivoluzione. Non saranno certo le compagnie petrolifere a fermare questa rivoluzione.
La fermerà lei?
No, non dico questo. Dico però che l'unico modo, non di fermarla, ma di impedire che ci travolga tutti, è di considerare il terzo mondo come un mondo di uomini e non di esseri inferiori. Ecco fatto.
Another real-life person Volonté portrayed was Lucky Luciano, the Italian gangster who left a distinct mark on organized crime in the 20th century. It was his third collaboration with Italian director Francesco Rosi, and it mostly follows Luciano's exile back to Europe, with a few scenes intercut from New York City. The movie is not entirely successful in its portrayal of Luciano, and Volonté plays him more as a high-level bureaucrat instead of a larger-than-life mob boss. Rod Steiger has a role in the film, but never gels with Volonté, and the movie gradually loses its steam in the final act.
Alla politica, quando le fa comodo, servono pure i delinquenti e comodicidi, i mafiosi. Mi dispiace, non ti posso servire.
In Christ Stopped at Eboli, Volonté plays the real-life Italian writer Carlo Levi, who is exiled by the fascist government of Mussolini to the remote southern town of Alliano, in 1935. During his exile, he befriends the local population and becomes the town's doctor, despite never having completed medical school. It's a quiet and beautiful movie, which moves along with the golden Italian countryside as a visual backdrop. The film tackles the country's fascistic past with utmost clarity, and also the historical cultural divide between the north and the south of Italy. Volonté plays Levi as a quiet and observing participant, with none of the actor's famous energetic outbursts. It's a subdued performance, which is a perfect anchor point for the tranquil setting of southern Italy.
È un segno di Dio per i nostri peccati.
Sarà per i gas asfissianti che buttiamo in Abissinia.
In 1986, the Moro Affair was released, which depicts the 1978 kidnapping of the former Italian Prime Minister, Aldo Moro, by the left-wing terrorist group, the Red Brigades. The event was a national trauma for Italy and changed the political landscape of the country. As Moro was missing, the police turned every stone, searching over 100,000 addresses in Rome, and held an iron grip over the city. After 55 days in captivity, the group killed Moro and dumped his body in the trunk of a car on a busy Rome street for the world to see, not far away from the headquarters of the Italian Communist Party. The movie turned out to be a career resurgence for Volonté, and he was highly praised for his role as Moro, and got nominated for the Silver Bear Award at the Berlin Film Festival in 1987.
Ma vi rendete conto che rendendo pubblica questa lettera avete offerto ai miei nemici l'occasione? E i miei nemici non sembrano essere pochi, da quanto comincia a trapelare. Gli avete offerto l'occasione di svilire la mia integrità, col rischio di creare un'atmosfera di indifferenza intorno alla mia sorte, ma anche intorno alla vostra. Vi rendete conto?
Volonté continued to do Italian films and stage work into the 90s. In 1994, while filming a movie for Theo Angelopoulos in Greece, he suffered a fatal heart attack and died. He was 61 years old. Volonté once said, "If anybody wants to understand who I truly am, they can see it in my films." He left an impressive legacy in Italian film history, and although he's long gone by now, he still lives forever in the movies he left behind.